Welcome everyone to today's panel discussion, Making an Intelligent and Agile Enterprise a Reality. We're lucky to be joined by three experts in their field. I'll let them introduce themselves properly in a second, but firstly we have Chris Olsen from Microsoft. Chris is a Senior Solution Architect for Data and AI. And from Sonata we have Srinivas and Gokul. Srini is Head of Cloud and Data Modernization and Gokul is Head of Data Competency. Chris, I'll quickly hand over to you for introductions.
Thanks very much, John. Yes, my name's Chris. I'm a Senior Cloud Solution Architect for Data and AI. I work in the Global Partner Solutions team at Microsoft in Australia, and that's the team that helps all our valuable partners like Sonata. I've got a long background in data, 30 years now. I started as DBA, I've worked for Oracle, I've contracted, and now I'm fortunate to be working in the leading cloud vendor in the data and AI space.
Great, thank you, Chris. And Srini?
Yeah, hi, this is Srini here. I come with the practitioner background of implementing a lot of ERPs for my customers, and then I've shifted over into technology and then technology delivery. And right now I head the cloud and data, what we call as digital competencies at Sonata. So it covers cloud, data, and software engineering elements. So I have implemented and helped many companies in terms of their data initiatives, and then I would like to bring in some of those experiences in this panel discussion today. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Srini. And Gokul, over to you.
Data analytics competency, focusing on Microsoft technology. I have overall 25 years of experience, and I started with ERP, and then I moved to data analytics right from 2005, which is when Microsoft first came up with its BI offering. And ever since that, I have been in the same data analytics journey today.
Okay, thanks, Gokul. I believe, Chris, you're going to start us off with a presentation.
I am indeed.
Okay, I'll hand to you.
Okay, welcome, and thank you everyone for your time today. It is greatly appreciated. Now, as said, my name's Chris, and I've been at Microsoft for 6.5 years now, working in data and AI, and the amount of change that's happened in that time is just phenomenal. The advancements that we've had, but also the uncertainty that we've seen businesses have to face in that time. Now, the one thing that we've all talked about over the last 6 years has been digital transformation, but not many people recognize the role that data plays in successful transformation. In fact, there's one thing that 2022 has taught us all, is that data is truly the strategic asset for businesses today. During this time of uncertainty, one thing we've observed is that no business is immune to sudden changes, and navigating this new landscape requires a new level of agility for business to deal with all these sudden changes that we keep experiencing. And what we've observed is that those that can accelerate innovation and embrace their data as a strategic asset have actually fared a lot better. They have established the culture and capabilities needed to be more agile. They're able to anticipate and predict disruptions and pivot as needed to better serve their customers. Now, we also work with various different organizations to survey the business landscape out there, and one of them that we've worked with quite heavily recently is Harvard Business Review, and they've shown that the benefits of getting this right are significant. Harvard found that organizations that embrace data to drive transformation experience achieve around a 54% growth in revenue and profits. And on top of that, around 62% enhancement to customer satisfaction and 44% faster time to market for their products. And that's relative to their peers. So the stakes are high, and an organization's growth prospects ultimately depend on data at its core. Harvard Business Review has also found that companies that embrace a data-driven culture experience roughly 4-time improvement in revenue performance and better customer satisfaction. So it truly has bottom line and positive customer retention impacts. So when I look around at the customers that I work with, from enterprises to SMC and SMB customers, there is a certain amount of realities that they all face. You know, digital transformation isn't always easy. And given the realities of data today, that is, you know, the volume, the variety and the velocity of data that is all accelerating very dramatically, it does make it more and more difficult sometimes to start that digital transformation journey. Today, we're generating data faster than we're able to understand it. In fact, IDC predicts that by 2025, which is just 2 years away now, the world's data will climb to around 175 zettabytes. And the data is often within organizations is nearly almost fragmented with no synergy between operational analytics and data governance systems. So without the right people and processes and capabilities in place, businesses are struggling to answer fundamental questions like, what data do I have? And is it trustworthy? Are my people getting the data they need to make the right decisions in time? Are they getting it fast enough? Are we managing that data in a compliant way? And what is my exposure to regulatory regimes for the industry that I'm in? That's better. So it's very clear that fragmentation exists today between operational analytics and data governance systems, and this must be addressed. Additionally, data engineers, data scientists, and business analysts struggle with the complexity of making data integration, data warehousing, machine learning operations, and business intelligence work together. This is why Microsoft created the Intelligent Data Platform. This empowers organizations to invest more time creating value rather than integrating and managing their data estate. Microsoft is laser focused on providing a unified platform, deeply and securely integrating our best-in-class databases, analytics, and governance products. Through continued investment in our operational systems, we are empowering customers to achieve enterprise agility in new and different ways with continued innovation across performance, security, and availability. Organizations can now analyze large volumes of operational data in near real time with no ETL pipelines and no performance impact on transactional workloads. Applications can easily evolve to include advanced analytics and intelligence with machine learning and AI. And anyone in the organization can securely access, analyze, and share data. We've also integrated the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform with the rest of the Microsoft clouds for enabling richer data experiences for business users of Dynamics, M365, and Power Platforms. So it's not just about the tech stack, it's about including the applications that run your businesses as well. But how do you get started on this digital transformation journey? Well, one of the easiest first steps is to undertake data modernization. Migrating and modernizing your underlying databases allows you to focus on your applications and not the infrastructure. You no longer have to worry about scaling your application's database needs to meet high demand or security and management requirements. You're always up to date with the most current database capabilities, irrespective of whether you prefer proprietary or open source databases. Microsoft Azure delivers a robust portfolio of operational databases that support all of your data, whether it fits neatly in rows or columns, or it's collections of image files or video, audio, or social sentiment. We're proud to be recognized by leading analysts, Gartner and Forrester, for our leadership in operational databases. Microsoft has been named leader in the database Magic Quadrant for the last 10 years running. We've also been named leader in Forrester's NoSQL and database waves for the last 5 years. So it's not just about traditional relational databases. Whether it's migrating or modernizing your existing applications or building net new cloud native applications, we have a database that fits your specific use case needs. Now, while many of our customers are migrating and modernizing existing applications, we see fantastic momentum for building net new applications that are using cloud native architecture. These applications are powering important customer-centric business processes and applying innovative new cloud technology like ultra-low latency in serving up customized algorithms for real-time personalization. When it comes to cloud native applications, Azure Cosmos DB is probably the forefront of the product set. It is trusted by tens of thousands of customers for their most demanding and business critical applications. It's become the go-to database for modern application development for companies big and small. So companies like Walmart, they've built their whole e-commerce platform based on Cosmos DB, using multi-region rights for extremely high availability, and of course leveraging the incredible low latency of Cosmos DB with 10 millisecond guaranteed SLAs for reads and writes. Other companies like Safeway are able to develop a customized matching algorithm to provide relevant products for their customers who could then include these products in their favorite recipes. This is all done in real time. It's been a hugely popular feature for Safeway at the height of the pandemic. And we've also got technology companies like Symantec that are using Cosmos DB to monitor the millions and millions of endpoints in worldwide and responding to 15 billion different requests a day in less than a second. So a database that can power petabyte scale applications and grow quickly over time and reach new heights for global companies is also available to every other company out there in the world. It's not just about large enterprises, it's for SMCs, SMBs to take advantage of and generate real-time insights and analysis that powers your business. Now, as data continues to grow at an unprecedented rate, so does the need to get timely insights out of that data, which is often difficult. Only Azure provides the scale and performance needed to deliver immediate insights to your business at incredible value as well. Based on the research conducted by GigaHome, no other cloud provider comes close to Azure Synapse Analytics in terms of the price performance. In fact, it costs up to 59% less than other cloud providers to run that analytics platform. It's truly unmatched in capability because Synapse provides seamless interoperability across data between Data Explorer and Log Analytics and Apache Spark engines and SQL engines. So this is empowering all levels of your organization, no matter whether they're data engineers or data scientists or data analysts, to easily and securely access and collaborate on the same data in the same data lake. This consistency offers the most robust set of security capabilities of any cloud analytics vendor, protecting this, what is potentially your most valuable asset, your data. It also enables real-time insights from data stored across your organization by bridging operational data with analytics data stores through Dataverse and Cosmos DB and SQL with what we call Synapse Link. Synapse Link is the first cloud-native implementation of hybrid transaction analytical processing with no data movement required from your operational stores, and it places no burden on these transactional systems. No other vendor in the cloud offers this type of capability. And of course, it's deeply integrated with Power BI, which is the undisputed leader in the business intelligence area. Power BI delivers impactful insights through stunning visualizations, and the integration with Synapse means that those data analysts are able to find the data sources that they need quickly and easily, and quickly build those impactful reports and dashboards for you, all through the one interface. Now, a strong data and analytics foundation unlocks the potential of data science and machine learning. Azure empowers your teams with the most advanced machine learning capabilities to build responsible AI solutions on their terms. With Azure Machine Learning, you can be confident that your data scientists and developers of all skill levels can apply machine learning in their work, because it provides both a pro code, a low code, and a no code approach, so everyone can be a citizen data scientist. You can manage the entire machine learning lifecycle in a repeatable and auditable fashion, and this ensures that ML models that you have created get to production quickly and can be explained when needed. You can build solutions in a responsible fashion by empowering data science teams to better understand ML models, protect data, and control the end-to-end machine learning process. We've also worked with leading open source frameworks and languages, so you have access to the best in-class support for these tools. And I'm proud to say that Azure is recognized as a leader by all leading industry analysts in this space. Customers in all industries are deploying machine learning solutions that are critical and transformative to their business process. Now, data governance is top of mind for most business leaders today. If as a business leader, you don't know where your data is, you don't know what your future is as an organization. Only when you have a complete understanding of your data and what kind of data it is, so that you can set appropriate policies at scale, are able to empower employees in your organization to use your data effectively. And of course, there are urgent compliance needs too. So today there are more than 200 regulatory updates every day from governments and different bodies around the world. So it's hard to keep up to date and it's hard to keep track of. So this is why we developed Azure Purview as a single data governance service that discovers, catalogs, and helps assess compliance exposure across your on-premise, multi-cloud, and SaaS data. So no matter where your data resides. So the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform, which includes all of these different services I've mentioned, integrates all layers of your data estate. It allows you to understand what data you have, to manage it properly, and get the insights you need when you need it. It enables you to achieve the kind of sustained agility that allows you to pivot and adapt in real time, add layers of intelligence to your applications, unlock fast and predictive insights, and govern your data wherever it resides. And if there's anything that we've learned from the last couple of years, it's that for businesses to survive and thrive in today's environment, you need to put data at the heart of everything you do. And the companies that have done that fare much better. Of course, the world's leading brands trust Microsoft Azure for their most mission critical and business data. In fact, 70% of Fortune 1000 companies rely on the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform today. And Microsoft provides a number of different ways that we can help you with this journey. From the Azure migrate and modernization program, which gives you access to experts, Azure engineers, and specialized partners, to assistance with planning and designing your project, through to funding that we can help provide to get things started, as well as the Azure Analytics and AI Accelerate program, which gives you access to POC sandbox environments so you can reduce the cost in developing new solutions, curated readiness assets and resources, solutions accelerators, and again, end customer investment funds to help get things going. There's also the Microsoft Solution Assessment Program, where we will help you by using cutting edge tools to review your current business landscape, analyze your data estate, and provide actionable data-backed recommendations. And not to forget things like Azure Hybrid Benefits. This is a way that you can save very large amounts of money by bringing your Windows and Server and SQL Server on-premises licenses to Azure and reuse them. And that also applies to open source systems like Red Hat and SUSE Linux these days. So this is a way that you can get more value out of the investments you've already made on premise when moving to the cloud. So how can you get started? Well, you can engage with our valued partner, Sonata, who have much experience in helping customers mature their data initiatives and in their transformation journey. And I think, Srini, you have some recent experiences of customer success that you can detail for us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think what we have done is we have leveraged these programs for our customers. And as a part of Sonata is actually a modernization migration partner, and we have actually pivoted ourselves to be that company for our customers. And in that process, we know that it's about where to start. That is the first question, right? So customer has many of these data assets in the company. They have many of these sources of data, where to apply, when to apply. Should I start with a business use case? Should I start building a platform? Can I combine these things? There are many questions that we see customers come in, and our approach therefore is, can we start with something as simple as doing an assessment, identify what exactly is expected of your senior leadership in the businesses, and then see how we can map their expectations and their future needs of data enabled decisions, and then trace out what should be the steps. So we give a roadmap, we do assessment, or the outcome of that assessment is to give a good roadmap in terms of how do you meet up these expectations and these data enabled requirements. So then the roadmap is all about not just giving you simple features, but we advise you in 3 ways. One, how do you go about building the data foundation of your organization? So each organization, the data foundation can be different. In some cases, your needs could be that I need reporting and I need AI at the foundation level itself. In some cases, it's just that you are good enough to have a reporting. So there will be differences in the way the data foundation has to be defined for different organizations. Then apart from the data foundation, then you look at how do I enable my processes to become a lot more agile? Should I include decision automation in the processes? Should I make decisions available to the people so that they can take decisions faster in the processes? So it's about delivering feature capability. And the last one is what is called force multiplier. How do I apply the data that I'm getting from all this foundation and features to enable my customers' delight, right? The digital customer experience. How do I enable the digital customer experience? So our approach is to create these 3 Fs: foundation, features, and force multipliers. And that's the kind of roadmap we give our customers.
Very good.
We have some questions, guys. Are you I've got a few here that I want to ask you. Is that okay? We're ready to go with that. So first question
Sure.
for Chris, and then I'll also hand it to Srini and Gokul for comment. Why is it imperative for enterprises to pursue data-led transformation, and how are enterprises trying to modernize themselves to succeed with their Industry 4.0 digital transformation agenda? That's to you, Chris, first.
Good question. So, Industry 4.0 is really interesting because it's really about blending what you would traditionally do in, say, manufacturing with new technology. So how do you adopt industrial IoT? How do you adopt big data or augmented reality, or start to harness cloud computing in what you do today, in your processes today? So for me, data-led transformation is very important, because so much valuable information is locked in your data and that you aren't using to the fullest extent today. I've seen figures out there that say 62% of an organization's data is never used for analysis or reporting. And there's a huge amount of valuable information that's in that unused data. So, providing things like real-time aggregation of your IoT data for immediate action with prescriptive analytics is super important. That could be things like detecting anomalies on a manufacturing line, for example, and being able to prevent a problem from occurring before it occurs. So doing very predictive analytics, or taking an action to stop something from happening through prescriptive analytics. It could be automating safety through AI, and I've seen some wonderful use cases there. There's a company that I helped in New Zealand, a steel manufacturing company, that used on the edge cognitive AI through video analysis to know in real time if somebody was in an area of their factory that they shouldn't be at a time when something was happening, like loading steel onto a truck, not wearing a hard hat, not wearing the appropriate equipment. They would have alarms sound, they would have alerts go to the factory manager if the AI detected anything untoward. And that's really about protecting their staff and improving safety in real time. Also, using the cloud and both hybrid and the edge to transform at a low cost and to stay ahead of your competition is super important. The cloud has become the world's computer. It is the cheapest way that you can do things, and it also unlocks capabilities that were either not possible on premise before, or just too cost prohibitive to use, such as deploying machine learning or AI models into your analytics or general business processes. So, harnessing these types of capabilities is going to help unlock that unused data, and it's going to propel you forward in terms of things like Industry 4 and digital transformation.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Srini, would you like to add to that?
Yeah. I think I'll forward the thought that Chris was mentioning. So if you look at the reason why at the end of the day I want to give great experience to customer, right? Ensuring my best customer experience is if my reason to exist as an organization. If you take that as a key point, there are many places where we were missing this data in terms of what is this customer experience, what is the assets that I have that delivers this customer experience. We were missing the data. We were only focused on what is called the operational data and then transaction information of that. There was good amount of insight that were coming out of that. But now if you can look at the way Industry 4 delivers the experience elements of your customer, the way they came, the click streams, their behavior through images, their behavior through videos. So you're talking about many cognitive ways of collecting the data of customer experience, many touch point based customer experience data you're collecting, and you are doing all the transactions with them. If you combine this experience data and the operation data together, your ability to make a better judgment in terms of what is that I need to do to make sure that the transaction happens or to deliver a better experience is much enhanced, right? So that is where I think Industry 4 is all about this ability to collect this data, and its ability to provide that insight to the organization is very vital there. So in one example I can talk about is one of our energy company customer. They were doing what is element of called foundation element. In the sense, they were measuring the customer experience, they are measuring the customer feedback in terms of whatever transactions have happened. So that was for them a foundation element. But what they see is they have all these retail stores and where they actually dispense the gas for the customer, and they're seeing that in future it will change towards a more longer time, because mobility is about charging now. And if I'm going to the customer is going to spend longer time, what is that I need to provide to them, right? I need to provide them a better experience. What kind of experience I need to provide? I need to have a very clean environment for family audience to come to me. I need to have certain kind of facilities in my as my foreground business in that space. So how do I give that to them? So this company has started already investing in creating an IoT-led clean and green environment in their outlets. And to measure that, they're selecting that IoT data, and they're trying to understand how to whether that environment exists or not. They're able to measure that, and they're able to take action if that measurement doesn't work with, right? So they have certain standards. If the data comes, and then if the data tells them that it's not clean there, they're able to advise the people there and then say you need to correct it. So people are moving towards selecting this kind of experience data and then taking actions around that experience data.
Thanks, Srini. Gokul, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think in the past, I think people have been looking primarily at operational data. People have a lot of enterprises already have some data warehouses, but the point is that all of them have been disparate, and then when the complexity increases, these warehouses don't really offer the kind of value that the customer enterprises want. So in today's environment, I think all this data obviously has to be instantly available to all the users for taking these decisions, and that's where I think the transformation has to begin from data. That is going to be very imperative going forward, and which means that data is not the hidden data, with the data which is not being used today, data which is external to the organization also, which is very critical. I mean, that's something which has been ignored completely. I mean, there could be social media data, there could be data coming from various feeds, there could be any kind of data which is also being ignored. So all the data has to be now used effectively, efficiently, and integrated in a manner which the users can instantly uncover information or business insights from that.
Great, thanks, Gokul. I'll move on to the next question if that's okay, and I'm going to aim this one at you, Srini, first up. Customers and shareholders place a premium on learning, digital, data-driven enterprise. What strategies must companies execute to ensure data is at the forefront of their transformation agenda?
See, what we have seen is, I think it's, I don't have to validate that data because I think it's such a true. You see any of the premium companies or anybody who is in the share market, they will know that companies that are shown with such kind of PE multiples are the ones which are embedding data as part of their organization strategy. So it's very evident there in the industry. For example, what Google or Web, the large data-driven companies are very clear to us in that sense. So what we are seeing is, how do we go there, right? How do we achieve this? So 2-3 things that we are seeing. First of all, I think this word called digital transformation, right? So what is that it is delivering to the customer? What exactly is the target of that is something that we work with the customer. We call that as a digital agenda approach, right? So at the end of the day, if someone wants to deliver a particular experience, how are you identifying these touch points? We are working with a manufacturing company, and the way the manufacturing company has identified their customer touch points, right? So they are into consumer electronics. They identified that the customer for them is they purchase products on the website. They purchase products from dealer. They purchase products from the reference sites, and then they also have some amount of interaction with the electronic repairing or repair workshops, right? So if you look at, if I am able to get to understanding of how the customer is behaving, what exactly they do, every touch point they covered, and then after I collected the data from these touch points, who are the people in my organization who needs to know this data, right? So that means if I have to enable a transformation of experience of today's product, and I have to enable a better product tomorrow, that means I have to put into my R&D I have to put it into my marketing, what kind of things that I need to capture, and how do I enable a better product tomorrow. I need to ensure that this data then has to be delivered to all people in my organization. In fact, what they have done is they have actually made their organization, each element of their organization, very customer centric. They call, instead of R&D, they call it as a customer future products kind of organization, right? So they have changed their organization ethos in terms of making every part of their organization respond to a certain customer data, and they are enabled to get this data, and they're able to use that data to be able to create, let's say, marketing gets this data, sales gets the data, the customer service team gets the data, the finance gets this data, and the R&D gets this data. Everybody has this data which they can use powerfully to engage, and then not only engage today but build something future. So our belief is, if you are looking at a strategy, it is all about identifying these touch points of your customer. And the customer, we know that it can be many segments. Each of these segments and each of these customer profiles will have different journeys. So it's about understanding how to capture the data and translating that data to the people who are delivering this experience to the customer. So our view of that is to, are you able to create a foundation? Are you able to create this entire data platforms to enable this process?
Great. Yeah, thanks, Srini. Same to you, Gokul.
Yeah, I think today what's happening is a lot of, what's happening is that data initiatives are being driven by the IT, and which means collecting data, putting it together, doing some analysis on top of it, and then then asking some business logic, putting in the business logic, and then presenting the customers. Not really coming from the other way around in terms of what really the users are looking for, and even the customers are looking for. What that information. I think the entire area of how this data-driven transformation should be coming from the other end, what the customer wants, what the user wants, and then from building on top of that, and then delivering the value from that. And that's how the platform should all evolve. It should never be coming from the data upwards. It should be also coming from the user needs and the customer needs, and then going on. So that is something which is going to be extremely critical for. And that I think is going to establish customers. Data initiatives should.
Yeah, that's great, Gokul. Thanks for that. Chris, do you want to have a go at this one?
I agree a lot with what Srini and Gokul have just said. I just add to that I think when it comes to digital transformation, this is a company-wide initiative. It's not something that you do on a department by department basis. And so because of that, it has to be led from the top. It's a top-down approach. So all the senior executives of an organization have to be on board with this. And one of the first things that they need to look at is to provide the right culture within the organization so that every employee within the organization is on that journey. And for me, things like fostering a good data culture where data becomes central to being an enabler for the transformation journey is key.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Just a reminder for everyone, if anyone has any questions as well, you can use the chat box, and we'll get to those at the end. So feel free, if any of the attendees want to ask any questions, I'll come to those at the end. The next one here, I'm going to aim this one at you, Gokul, to start with. What specific processes must enterprise initiate to ensure data is trusted? What role are data platforms expected to play in ensuring trust, governance, and lineage?
Okay, this basically has got three places. One is, of course, in traditional data platforms, if you look at it, again, IT owns the data, the business data is taken in by the IT puts the data together and then presents it back to business after putting business reports. So basically, the business doesn't have any idea whether this data is, what kind of transformations happen, whether data is being stored, what kind of is the data has been secured or not. So that's where I think the first problem comes in terms of trust. If we have some three areas that in the platform that we can cover, one is the security of data, and the ownership. Now, in the ownership, in the new paradigm of data in data platforms, what we have is the data mesh technology, where actually the data is kept secure and owned by the business. So all the data that a particular business unit or business area has provided is actually kept in a separate secure area, and the complete ownership is with the business and not with the IT. So the business can ensure that the data is kept secure. It's not being, it is not, other data is not coming and messing it up. No other users can access the data, and they can define the security around it and what kind of data needs to be exposed and what data can be accessed by others. So that is at one level, the governance area. The second is that every data, which whatever be the transformation, whatever be the number of steps that has to come for being exposed to the users, there has to be an audit, there has to be a traceability. So any kind of data, there should be a traceability. So I'm seeing a particular data in a particular report, for example. I need to know from where the data has come, and I can actually trace it back to the source. And that traceability will again ensure that this data is trustable and business. I mean, any kind of data, if they have any questions, they can look it back. They know exactly from which transactions come from, and they can actually trace it back, and they understand it's valid. And that, if these two are not there, and the data being secure with the business and data traceability not being available, it's going to be a data traceability or lineage, as we call it. That's going to be extremely critical for organizations to do it. So the traceability right from the source to the destination, and the security of the data within the business unit. I mean, those two are very.
Right. Thanks, Gokul. Chris, to you.
I would sum it up as transparency, people, tools, and process. So transparency to begin with is understanding what data you have, where it is, where it's located, what classification it has, and what the lineage of that data is. Just understanding that to begin with. The people aspect, I think, fits in with what Gokul was just saying, is that rather than IT being the central collection point for data in an organization, data really should have stewards within your organization that have responsibility for the data assets in their departments. They know that data best, the context of it, make them responsible for that data. And they will act as guardians for their data assets. And they will allow collaboration with data producers and consumers, and also allow secure access in a timely way to that data. Putting people in charge of the data that they care about it is a big step towards making sure that it can be trusted. Then you have the tools. So, trying to avoid point solutions, because that becomes an integration nightmare. So using the right tooling to empower your staff and promote that transparency and their stewardship is important. You want to look at the tooling that can automate pipelines, because the more that we can automate stuff, it tends to be the cleaner data that we get at the other end. We need to understand the lineage. So having tooling that automatically collects that lineage when data gets changed, when it gets ingested and changed in the organization, so we understand what path it's taken to get here before we're going to analyze that data, and therefore we can understand what changes have been made and whether they're right or wrong. As well as being able to automatically scan over your data estate to automatically discover and classify that data, and also by providing policies for authorized data access. This is the sort of things that tools need to do. And then finally, process is around having clearly defined roles within an organization, having standard naming conventions, and something like a business glossary that allows IT and business users to understand that what data you have and what it means. I think they're kind of the key things to ensuring your data is trusted.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Srini, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the key word for me is this transparency part, right? So I speak to customers, and then see, at the end of the day, all organizations have these operation systems where the business owns the operations, right? So they are actually collectors of data today, in the sense whether it is sales systems or let's say manufacturing systems. Everybody is collecting and they're processing. They're using the those processes and that data that is being collected from that processes as a part of their operations today. Now, why is that there is a trust issue? The same operation data I'm bringing into, let us say, data platform scenarios, but I am actually changing those things to suit another set of users, not necessarily the same set of users. Therefore, when it goes and gets transformed, the operation people do not see that data as something that is relevant to them, and therefore they don't really own it, and therefore they don't really steward it, and after that it goes into a loop of only analytics purposes, right? So this problem that we see is primarily the data that is pushed into another system, data platform system, doesn't find usage for operation people. And it is meant for somebody else, and then when it is created that way, I think people do not have trust and people do not have ownership of that data. That is what I saw. And if we are able to create these data platforms, our approach to create data platforms is what we call as data mesh approach, which essentially means that I still bring the same data and allow the people who were the operational data owners to continue to be the operational owners of data when a mesh is created. The mesh need not be like in another place. Mesh can continue to use the same business data, or can allow the operation people in the form that they want it to be used in a data lake system, so that they own the data in both places, right? So that's what one thing that I see. The people have a continuum of seeing the data, how it is getting transferred and where it is being applied. The second set of things that I'm saying is, from an analytics perspective, it is important that when we design analytics, when we design the references and the lineage across these systems, all people collaborate. Like whatever Chris was saying, like how do I create this classification? How do I? It is a collaboration process of creating, or it allows different people to see the same data with different kinds of indexes and different kinds of let's say tags, right? Tags. If I'm able to do that, then everybody has different view about the same data, and they're able to see the data in their form. And that, if you are able to establish these two things transparently, I think the ownership and then the ability to trust the data automatically happens. And there are tool sets that are there today that enables this too.
Brilliant. Thanks, Srini. Thanks, guys, for that one. Chris, I'm going to come back to you again with this next question to start with. Data is the new oil. How can enterprises leverage data for agility? What specific data initiatives must IT and business collaborate on to ensure an agile enterprise?
Thanks, John. I love that expression, data is the new oil. It's so true. Although I don't see it being delivered by tanker anytime soon. You know, agility, being an agile business really means being able to react quickly to changes. That's the way I see it. And what we've seen over the last few years is that agile businesses were able to survive and often thrive during that pandemic. And they did that by using data, really, using data to make faster business decisions, as well as providing insights into what is going to happen in their business, not what has happened. So it's better use of data to react faster and look further ahead. Now, for me, the way that gets enabled is utilizing cloud technologies. That makes the most sense because you've got, vast amounts of compute as needed that you can take advantage of. You've also got huge amounts of R&D that cloud vendors like Microsoft has spent to develop and simplify AI and machine learning to blend in with your analytics to give you that forward vision. And so, this all happens within a paradigm of you're only paying for what you use. So it makes it all really cost effective. So it's harnessing that data to be faster, more timely in your decisions, and to look further ahead with more accuracy.
Okay, great. Srini, to you, same?
Yeah, I think this agility that Chris defined in terms of being able to change, I will add another dimension to that. It is about how do we ensure that the customer benefits in terms of the speed at which you want to do. So, for example, if you take almost all fintech organizations, right, and then one of them are also our customer. See, they are able to today decide the amount of time they take to actually process and authorize a loan to a customer, right? So they have made so many advances in that process of collecting their credit worthiness, collecting the ability to how much they can get. And second part is, if I'm dispensing, let's say I'm also working with some kind of claims company where we are able to make decisions using largely information around the images that we are getting, and we are able to process that. 90% of my decision making is understanding that imagery very well, and then maybe ask a couple of questions before I can actually disperse the claim that somebody has made. So a lot of these things are becoming faster from a customer perspective point of view, because you are able to use this data that was not available earlier. You are able to take that data, you are able to use that data to process that information, you are able to take decisions or ask questions which are relevant based on that imagery or based on that information you are able to get. So my view is, apart from the organization ability to change to the future or change to the competition threats, you are also ability to do processing faster from a customer point of view.
Great, and same to you, Gokul.
Yeah, I think Chris and Srini did refer to the right areas, and to add to that, I think there are two aspects. One is, of course, that today we are telling that the data is not being used, so you need to bring more and more data together, and this could be data which is unstructured and streaming data and all that. At the same time, you also need to ensure that this data is actually given to the users for them to make decisions, and that make decisions fast. So I think in between, to connect the two, I think the biggest thing is the processing power and the storage power, and that's what I think cloud does provide, and that's why most of the digital transformations are actually cloud led. Agility is also it's also going to be clouded because of the immense storage and immense computing capability that is being available. So that's basically connecting the two areas together to ensure that large data is being used, large heavy computation is happening, and the insights are being delivered to customers and that at a real fast, so that the customer can take immediately some actions based on the changing data.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gokul. Last question from me, guys, before we go back. I think we've got a question from the audience, but the last one from me. I'm going to send this to Srini first. What should the enterprise do to create a data culture to build intelligence and use it across the hierarchy?
Very, very profound question. I think if you look at, I think most organizations realize that the data, and they want their employees to use data, right? So I think the intent is not an issue at all in almost every place, right? So how do you organize this data to make sure that the data is available to right people at right time? That is the problem that we see here. So the issues that we discuss in terms of trust, the issues that we discuss in terms of how do we create this transparency, the issues of making sure this data is available for everybody with their way of using the data. I think those are all solutions that we think are important. In our frame of work, right, the way we would like to advocate this process to the customer is look at the purpose of your process, as well as look at the purpose of your data holistically. Whatever data you're capturing, that data is not only a siloed information for that particular process, but it might also have an impact in other areas. So how do you ensure that this data that you're capturing in one process, in one silo, can be tagged to other purposes? Let's say someone put an order. How do we tag it in such a way that it can be used by your inventory people, it can be used by your partners, it can be used by your finance, right? So that's the kind of things. While the process allows you to do transactions smoothly, but if you collect the data, you are able to understand the behaviors, you are able to understand the aspects that you can improve in terms of where the delays are, where the bottlenecks are. You are able to understand that part properly, and therefore you are able to make decisions or make improvements in your process. The same thing that I would say is, if you are able to create this pipeline that Chris was talking about, you are able to template the process of how you process your data. That is what I call as a pipeline. If you are able to do that, your ability to, if let us say you're someone who is also acquiring companies, you are someone who is acquiring businesses, you are someone who is working on new models or new business models, your ability to bring that new data into your process quickly, because you already automated your process, make your integration much more faster. So that's what I would suggest that people need to look at.
Brilliant, thanks, Srini. And Chris, same to you.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, look, fostering a data culture within an organization really starts at the very top, where executives set an expectation through the business that decisions must be anchored in data. And these sort of practices propagate downwards. And to help foster a data culture, you could start with democratizing data access so that the people who need the data have access to it at the right data at the right time. You know, often, as Srini mentioned, you see these silos build up within organizations, and that can be organic or it could be based upon acquisitions and mergers that have occurred. Need to democratize that access so that everyone has access to the right data at the right time for what they need to do in the business. I'd also say, you know, when you're looking at starting a new project, start with something simple. Develop an MVP that is fit for production, and then build on it from there, rather than going for a big waterfall approach to building something new within the business. And I think one of the keys, and I've seen this at Microsoft over my time there as well, and that's developing a learning culture amongst your employees. You know, setting aside training time in their schedule, encouraging them to learn and to get certified in technologies is one of the great ways that a business can start to develop this data culture. And I've lived that myself, and I still live it today. And it's remarkable how much just that simple change can bring an organization forward.
Great, thanks, Chris. With one eye on the time and a couple of questions coming in from the audience, if it's okay, I'm gonna jump to the attendee questions. Is that okay, Gokul? If I miss you out there, I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you'll forgive me. So we've got a question. So I have a question here, and Gokul, you can have first go at it if you want. Question from Simon. We have our own tools and several data architecture elements. How do we know we are giving best value to our business from data?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's one thing which is, I mean, a lot of people do have a set of tools, a set of architecture, and whether or not it is giving the right kind of information is, I think, coming from the fact what the field of the business want, and are we accessing the right set of data? So what we do, if you can assess really what kind of what the business wants, what kind of data elements are required, and do we really have the data in the first place? So we might have the best architecture, the best tools, but if not capturing the basic data elements that are required, not giving from the business the kind of answer they need, I think that the whole point becomes meaningless, because you need to first assess whether you have the right data. Then, are you collecting the data? Are you modifying the data in the right way that the business can use it? Because you can give data give data to the business, and then they might have to again do a lot of transformation on top of that to get to understand what kind of insight they need. So I think the entire thing has to be bridged. You have the right data, you store the data well, you're computing it well, to the extent that you're trying to give the right kind of information to users without any kind of additional thing with the user need. So I think that's going to be critical to bridge all these areas while building the better platform, even using the best of terms of architects and tools.
Great, thanks Gokul. So we've got two more questions and we've got a couple of minutes, so I'm going to go to the next one, and Srini, this one might be best aimed at you, but Chris, feel free to jump all over it if you want it. What is the typical time frame one must budget to get a certain transformation on target data architecture on cloud? Bit of a mouthful, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think often asked question for us. So what we say is, don't wait for this big bang, like Chris was also mentioning, Gokul was mentioning, don't wait for this big bang, because these processes, these transformations are not short-term transformation, they are large transformation, infusing culture changes, infusing the technology changes, and then creating this entire decision algorithm that will make sense to the organization, because they're all to be optimized, right? Everything. So it will take at least 2 to 3 years, and in some cases it can go to 4 years. But our approach to this is, don't wait that long, become more agile. I think one of the key things about this new technology that has come on the data side is that if you practice data fabric approaches, if you practice data mesh approaches, or if you practice this data loop approaches, you can actually intertwine the business use case and this data mesh approach, which is all about evolving data platform approach. You can combine these two things, and therefore you can actually aim for shorter term projections as well, in the sense, what is the transformation transformation I want in a particular process in the first 3 months? What is the transformation I want in the larger context? So you can actually aim in terms of outcomes per quarter, and then you can build up to the overall transformation for about 3 years. That's how I suggest on our roadmap advocates that way.
Yeah, great. And last one, Chris, I'll let you have this one. Where should we start? Where should we start our journey? Data foundation or business use case or both?
Oh, that's an interesting one. You know, not much survives without a business use case being established. So, you know, I'm tempted to go there first, but you can do a lot with existing systems, with just starting with your data foundation and transforming that. You know, if you're running databases on premise today, first question I'd ask is why. You know, you can move those into the cloud very quickly and easily without affecting your applications, and harness the benefits of cloud and reduce cost, higher availability, better security, and by harnessing platform as service, you know, you're taking away a whole lot of management that you would do today. Now, that's just an easy first step, but I don't think maybe they should be separated. Maybe they go hand in hand. You start doing both simultaneously. You start looking at how I can modernize my data foundation and how I can start providing a business case for further change within my systems and organization.
Yeah, brilliant. Srini, 30 seconds. Did you want to have a say on that one as well?
I think we mentioned the same. I think it's all about at the end of the day, the purpose of data, to my mind, is delivering the organizational objectives of digital customer experience, efficiency, agility, and other things, right? So if you don't achieve the business use cases, there's no way that you'll get funding itself. So you can have a platform nobody will use. So I think ideal is to combine them and then make sure that there is this quarterly, half-yearly outcomes that you want to get out of this.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone that's joined us today, as well as Chris, Srini, and Gokul for sharing their knowledge and expertise. If you'd like to get in touch with one of our presenters, please reach out to one of the email addresses below, or you can visit our website, sonata-software.com, and go to the contact page. This concludes our Making an Intelligent and Agile Enterprise a Reality panel discussion. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.